Alright, hi everyone, welcome back to another tutorial of Salesforce Makes Sense. This is Himanshu and we are continuing our Lightning Web Components masterclass. In the previous tutorial, we did a very good nutshell video wherein we understood the differences and the what, why, how of public versus private versus getters versus setters, right? I hope you are now comfortable with these kind of variables and getting and setting information. And now we'll jump on to conditional rendering. Right, so as part of our JavaScript tutorial, what we did was we did understand that you can do if and else conditions, right? But how do you dynamically render information on the HTML itself is something that we are going to learn today. All right, so what I have here is, I don't have a new component obviously, but what I'll do is I'll go ahead and create it. I'll say create web component and I'll call it conditional rendering. C should be small. Right, oops, I made a typo. Let's delete it. I do not like spelling mistakes, and I'm going to create it again and I'm going to say conditional rendering. All right, I'll create this and this creates our JS, HTML and meta file. I'm going to go ahead and expose this, and we know that we have to set the targets. The target is going to be Lightning app page. All right, great. It has been exposed successfully, and I want to just go ahead and add something here. Now, before adding something here, let's go ahead and try to look at what we can build, right? So let's go to Chrome and let's check SLDS card. Okay, I'm going to just try out certain things. So let's try to get a small card kind of a component. And I'll try out the Lightning design system too, and I hope that it works similar to how SLDS currently works, right? It's the same thing, just it's an advanced version. So you see, this is how the card would look like, right? So if I were to look at develop, where do I have a snippet that I can use? Not sure. Specifications. Okay, let's go back to develop. Okay, this is on the SLDS side, right? Let's go to Lightning component library, right? So let's go to our Lightning component library and let's see if we can pick something up from here. We'll pick a small thing, so more like, let's say, what do you call it? Let's pick up something. Okay, let's pick up various kind of buttons. Or is there anything better? Let's check. Yeah, okay, button icon stateful. Let me just pick this, okay? And this is on Aura. I don't want Aura, I want Lightning. And let's go to button icon stateful button icons. Yeah, so I'm just going to pick this up, right? These are the two buttons which on hover show you the blue color. So let's pick up this entire code and let's go back here and paste it right away. Now, the important thing of pasting things is that you should know what you have pasted. All right, now you have this click one of the example icons is the text, which is surrounded by a h2 tag. It has its classes. You have a simple, what is simple? Okay, this is simple sizes, and then there are different options, right? So simple sizes and disabled. Now, if you notice here, there are some variables defined. Right now I don't have these variables, so what do? I just go to the JS file. I'll take pretty much all of it. Okay, all the code that is available, I'll just pick it up. Okay, don't worry. I'll go to conditional rendering and I'm going to paste this code as is. This is basically nothing but all the methods, and these are all the variables. They are defined as false by default and they are being set as true or false inside. Okay, now it's giving me an error. Why? Because I need to enable the module. All right, so I'll just enable the module. All right, so far so good, and I think I should be good to deploy because there's nothing else left for me to do in this component. Everything we got from the internet, right? Let's deploy. All right, let's go back. Let's go to the home page. Let's refresh and let's edit the page to actually get our component here, and let's see how it looks. So this will be called conditional rendering. It's not showing up. Is it showing up? No. What is the reason? Conditional rendering, it has been enabled, right? For app pages, this is the home page, so it should be home page. I'll deploy it now. and I should start seeing it. All right, let's refresh. And let's now search for conditional rendering. It shows up fine. I'll just drop it here and I'll say save. Okay, so if you notice, this entire stuff is coming from the HTML and the JS that we took from the library. All right, great. So if you see, if I hover on it, it's basically giving me a blue color, right? And if I see these are disabled. I cannot really click on them because these are with the disabled attributes, right? Now, my concern is I want to be able to show you this information, this entire information, only if you ask, right? Meaning I want to have 3 buttons on the top, and I want you to tell me that what kind of buttons do you want to see? Do you want to see hovers? Do you want to see sizes, or do you want to see disabled? That's my ask. Okay, so what am I going to do now? Now forget about whatever we have written yet. Okay, that's more like a stub. Now what I want to do is I want to perform this use case that I just told you. So what do I need? I need 3 buttons, correct? I need 3 buttons. So I'm just going to go to lightning button, and I should have some clickable buttons available, the basic ones, right? So I'll just take the brand and the outline, whatever. I'll just take up this brand button. All right, and I'll paste it right on the top. Okay, let me just get rid of this screen. Great. And what I'll do is I'll just wrap my entire component into a SLDS card so that we're able to see a white background. Okay, so I'll just do that. SLDS card, or you can just put any kind of, SLDS container or some sort of, CSS. Okay, and let me just say right click, and I want to say format selection. And what format selection does is it kind of aligns your entire code. So you see, template, inside template there is div, inside div there is lightning element. These all are here. You can actually use this to open and close your code. Very nice and very neat, right? Great. Save. I want to basically have 3 buttons, right? So let me move this code here, and then let me just create 3 buttons first of all. Button 1, button 2, button 3. Okay, and this will be option 1. This would be option 2. This would be option 3. All right, I don't want to give the click listeners yet. Okay, I don't want to do anything when I click on it, not yet. We'll look at it a bit later. Okay, let's get rid of it. Done. All right, let's go ahead and deploy. Deployed. Let's go back. Let's refresh. All right, perfect. I don't see the spacing here, so I'm just going to, like I said, I'm going to put that spacing on the card so that it is equi-spaced from all the sides. All right, so instead of left, I'm going to put a margin which is, let's say, small. Okay, let's go ahead and say deploy, and now I should see some space, and if I don't, I'll just put a padding also. Let's see, deployed, refresh. Did not reflect yet. Okay, let's add a padding. I think it needs padding. Let me just try to type it out again. It does not prompt it. Okay, that's okay. So this is BEM, so this should work fine. Let's see. Okay, that's okay. Without wasting, okay, this should be underscore here. It should be underscore here. All right, and let me just make it medium. Okay, so that we can see it visible. Deploy. So while that happens, this particular CSS, right, if you take a look at it, while that happens, just some additional information, the CSS naming convention is basically based on this nomenclature, B-E-M, which is block-element-modifier, right? So you're saying that I want to apply some CSS on the SLDS block where the padding, which is P is short for padding, where the element P needs to be tackled, and I want to modify it to have around medium, as in a medium size of padding should be available on my styling. That's how you actually write CSS. So if you have to do, let's say, margin, so you'll do SLDS -m-large. right? It would basically be around large. What does that mean? That means you want to put some margin around your component in a large size. That's how it is. Block, element and modifier. All right. I hope that was useful information. Not an interview question, not something that a lot of people know, but good to know. All right. I think I have it here. Let's refresh and deploy. Okay. Looks a bit more neat. See, just as soon as you start adding some spacing, it looks a bit neat, right? Cool. Now what happens if I click on it? Nothing happens when I click on it. But what do I want to happen when I click on it? When I click on the first one, I want this section to be visible. When I click on the second one, I want the second section to be visible. And when I click on the third one, I want the third section to be visible. And that is basically what conditional rendering is. Okay, now just see the magic. Before jumping into the magic, a little bit of design thinking. Understand, okay? Just take a pause and understand what Himanshu is asking and how can we do it. So when I say click on this, then only this should show up. Or click on this, then this should show up. Does that mean by default none of this should be showing up and only the button should show up? Yes. So I need to ensure these are not visible in the first place when the page is being loaded. How do you ensure that? You have something that's called a Boolean variable. Okay. Display none is equal to true. That is my Boolean variable that I have declared as a private variable. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to actually ensure, okay, let's not do the connected callback for now. What I want to do is I want to use this particular display none on my HTML. How do I use it? What do I want to do? These are the three divs which contain those text and those messages. I want to ensure that I am hiding all of this by default when the page is loaded. All right, how do I do that? I use the template tag around the entire thing. Again, save, format selection. There's something wrong. It's saying that a directive is expected to be associated with a template tag. Now, whenever you put a template, you have to put a directive. Now that directive is basically the LWC if else directive. Okay, that's where conditional rendering comes into picture. All right, so you can render your elements, show or hide certain sections of your component dynamically based on criteria, whether something is true or whether something is false. And for this, you need Boolean variables. What are Booleans? Yes or no, true or false. They control the directives. Make sense? Great. Now, you cannot just simply put a template inside a template. All right. What you need to do is you need to actually say that if certain thing is true or false, only then show it. What is that certain thing? That certain thing is basically display none variable. So if display none is true, only then show it or else don't. Okay. So if display none is true, then all of this will be shown. Correct? Let's give it a try. Deploy. Refresh. Everything is showing up. But what do I want? I want my system to not show anything in the first place, meaning this should be not displaying anything. So display equal to false. Let's not put the keyword none. Display setting should be equal to false, or else the name is confusing, right? So I'll put say display setting. So what is this written? This is the directive LWC if. And LWC : if is how you actually check any kind of if condition directly on an HTML template. Okay, so if display setting is true, is it true? No, false. So it will not go inside this template. It will not render it. Do you want to see that live in action? Let's say deploy. Let's say refresh. And now hopefully only 3 buttons should show up. Perfect. Only 3 buttons are showing up. Make sense? Now that you know it, I want you to understand when I click on this first button, I want only the first div to show up. How do I handle that? How do I handle that? If I click on the first button, I want this div to show up. So I can use another Boolean, correct? So what will I do? I'll say display first is equal to false. Display second is equal to false. And display third is equal to false, considering these are the 3 booleans I want to use for each of my divs that I have. All right. Now this display first can actually be used here. and I can enclose my first div inside a template. What does that tell you? That tells you that you can have a template inside a template inside a template. So if this is true, it will go inside. If this is true, then it will go inside and only then render it. If it is not true, it will try to look at the second bit, which is display second. And I need to close this particular template. Where do I close it? Right after the second div. Make sense? Let's leave the third one for now. Let's do 2 at a time. Okay. What have I done? I have put the display first, display second Boolean flag. Now, right now, both are set to false. So nothing is going to set up because even the top Boolean is also set to false. Correct? So even if I make the top Boolean set to true, I know I might be over explaining this and you have already gotten the idea, but it's okay. All right. So even if I set the top one to true and I refresh, I'll still not see anything. Oh, okay, I'm seeing something. Why? Because, yes, I'll see something. Because display first and display second are handling the visibility of the first 2 cards, whereas the third one is pretty much independent and showing up fine. This is the disabled one. If as soon as I put a tag here that display the third section, only if display third is true, then it will also start not showing up. It will also not show up. Did you understand? Makes sense, right? Great. And as soon as I tweak something to true out of one of these, they will start showing up. All right. Let me just make second as true. Deploy. Before that, let me refresh. Now none of it will show. Now it is showing the second one. Why? Because I have made the second one as true. What if I make the second one as false and the first one as true? I'll see the 2 button icons. Deploy. Refresh. Now you will see the first one, the sec2 icons. Right? Now you have been able to successfully handle the conditional visibility. What I want you to actually do is when you click on these buttons, only then this conditional visibility should work. What does that mean? That means you need to handle an event. That event should trigger when you click on a button. What does that mean? That means you need to go to your HTML. You need to have a on click listener. And that on click listener should point to a method in your JS file. Correct? So I'll just say handle option one click. That is the name of my function. And this function is the name exact same name I'll take and I'll paste it here. Always remember these will not be within single quotes. These will be within curly braces because they are coming from JavaScript. Okay. On click of the first button, you want to call a method that's called handle option click. Now, when that method is called, what do you want to do? What do you want to do? When the button is clicked, you simply want to say display first is equal to true. Correct? Let's see this in action. See, I'll move the display first as false, meaning by default it will be off. And I'll just trigger it on as soon as the button is clicked and the first button click. Go back, refresh. All right, let's click the third button, nothing happens. Second button, nothing happens. First button, oh wow, conditional rendering right in front of you, served on a platter. As simple as that. Right, now you pause the video here and try to put the on click listeners for the remaining. How will you do it? You will have another method, handle option 2 click, right? And then you will have another method, handle option 3 click. For each one of them, you are going to have a method similar to the first one. And then you just have to replace the function name with the right number because that's the numbering that we have done here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Now display first should be true here. In this case, what should happen? Display second should be true. Correct. And in this case, display third should be true. So far, so good. Deploy. Want to test it out? Let's do it. Okay, now there is going to be a very small problem here. I'll just go ahead and show it to you. And for those of you who have already understood or who have thought about it already, I think let's see. So when I click on the first one, what will happen? The first one is showing up. When I click on the third one is showing up. When I click on the second one is showing up. Good. But when I click on the second one, these should also be removed, right? Only the second one should be shown. What does that mean? That means you have to reset the values of the other Boolean flags that have been turned on. Okay, so I have to do this dot display third is equal to false, and I have to follow this template in all the three functions, and I should be switching on only one of them, not any more of them. Make sense? Very basic code, but yeah, very good for understanding, and it will help you read code in future. All right, and if you notice, see, I'm using this dot everywhere very casually because the variable has been defined. To access the private variable, I need to use this dot, only then it will know. Correct? If I don't use it, it is not going to understand who is this particular variable. It is going to throw an error. All right, and I have added the event because in case I want to know which button has been clicked, I can use the event.target. Correct? But right now that there's no such use. I just want to explain you conditional rendering. Great. Now let's look at our component, and we have successfully built a component wherein you can show and hide certain elements. Let's say click one of the example, click the other one, click button icon. See, so amazing, so nice, so beautiful, so elegant, right? Great. So that's conditional rendering for you. That's conditional rendering. If I go back to my keynote, that's how you actually do it using Boolean variables. All right. Now there are two kinds of renderings, which is one is the one that I showed, LWC if. The same thing also works if you write like this, if true. So this can be replaced with if true. Okay, you can do that, but this is kind of deprecated. So why to do that? We'll not do that. Okay. Great. Now you might ask, Himanshu, if I want a setting where this entire thing shows up when display setting is true, but when it is not true, I want to show something else, right? That could be a case that if you are a logged in member, I want to show this, but if you are a guest, I want to show something else, a use case, right? So what do you do? In that case, you simply say template LWC else, and that's how you create a template, and you put your remaining bit here. What will happen if I say nothing to show and I say deploy? Let's go back, refresh. Right now it is showing the buttons because display setting is turned to true, right? But what if I set it as false? Let's say deploy. Let's go back, refresh. And now if you see, it's saying nothing to show. Why? Because it is not even entertaining anything, because the LWC if has been evaluated to false, because display setting is false. So if false is not going to execute, so it's never going to even go inside. It will go outside of this particular template, execute the else statement. Make sense? So that's how you do a if else statement. Similar to Apex, similar to Java, if else. It's just that because you are in LWC, just put a LWC : directive. That's the directive. All right. Now you might ask, Himanshu, I don't have 2 scenarios. I have 3 scenarios. How do I handle that? You have a way. If you have 3 scenarios or if you have 4 scenarios, you simply put another condition here. For those of you who understood, you put else if and another Boolean, as simple as that. So if display setting is true, run this bit. If display position is true, I don't know, I'm just making things up, yeah, but if display position is true, then show this. If none of them are true, then nothing to show. All right. Now what I've done, display setting, what is it? It is false. Display position, it is true. And yeah, that's fine. So that means this condition will run and it is going to show you position is enabled. Let's give it a test. Let's go back, refresh, and you'll say that the position is enabled is showing because that particular Boolean is satisfying as the condition to be true. Make sense? Great. Just let me know if I over explained this or the explanation was fine. All right. And after you are done doing that, give me the answer to these questions in the comment box. Can you have multiple if true, or I'll just replace it. This should be LWC if blocks one inside the other in a component? I think I might have already answered it, but let's see if you were attentive. And then can you have multiple independent LWC if blocks in a component? When I say multiple independent, it basically means this template is here, right? If I close this, can I have another if template like this? Okay, can I have another if template? You know, independent, not dependent, independent. Okay, can I have 3 LWC ifs templates inside my one HTML component? Tell me this. Okay, these are the 2 questions I want you to answer, and just put a comment on the tutorial box, and yeah, let's see how it goes. Great, just drop a comment. Conditional rendering makes sense, and we'll move on to the next lecture in the very next tutorial. Talk to you soon. Bye.